Africa did not begin with a flag. It began with breath, with dust kissed by the sun, with footsteps pressed into red earth long before time learned to measure itself. We were not waiting to be discovered. We were already here, rising with the rivers, speaking in winds, carving truth into stone while the rest of the world was still learning to stand. We are not just the cradle of humanity. We are the memory it forgot to carry forward. Not bones in a museum, but the beating drum beneath every nation's chest. They drew maps and called it discovery, but we were never lost. We were simply unwritten. They did not just steal our land. They tried to steal our memory. They arrived not with questions, but with conclusions, with flags in their hands and forgetting in their tongues. What they couldn't explain, they erased. What they couldn't own, they renamed. What they didn't understand, they called superstition. They thought silence meant absence. But in Africa, silence is sacred. It is how ancestors speak. They burned libraries, but the knowledge moved to our bones. They banned languages, but the wisdom hid in rhythm and call and response. They outlawed the drum, but forgot our heartbeat was the drum. Africa did not vanish. It whispered. It sang in lullabies. It braided escape routes into children's hair. It kept time in the sway of hips, in the side eye of a grandmother, in the thunder hidden inside a hymn. They told us our story began with chains, but we have always known better. We were astronomers before Galileo, surgeons before Hippocrates, architects before the first Roman brick was laid. They told us we had no history, but what they meant was our history threatened theirs. Because if the first kings wore black skin, and the first cities had African names, then the story of conquest becomes the story of theft. Timbuktu had libraries while Europe burned witches. Imhotep practiced medicine while the West bled its sick. Queen Zinga negotiated treaties while queens elsewhere were only wives. Africa was not behind. Africa was ahead, and the world has been trying to catch up ever since. The African body was never just body. It was archive, drum, weapon, altar, and that terrified them. They feared the way our skin held sun like memory, feared how our backs bent and unbent like prayer, feared the rhythm in our blood, the thunder in our hips, the way our very walk challenged gravity and rulebooks. So they called us beasts while mining the gold in our bones. They labeled us labor while studying the strength in our scars. And yet, even as they chained our wrists, they could never hold our fire. The Middle Passage didn't drown us. It baptized us into new resistance. We carried gods in our bellies. We sang freedom in slave songs. We turned sorrow into sculpture and trauma into testimony. And when they thought we were broken, we were only becoming flame. Africa is no longer asking to be seen. It is seeing itself, clearly, fiercely, without apology. From Accra to Atlanta, Lagos to London, Soweto to Sao Paulo, we are naming ourselves again. In song, in script, in skin, we are dancing our memory back into the marrow of the world. What was once called primitive is now called premium. Our food is on global menus. Our music remixes the planet. Our fashion walks the runways they swore we'd never reach. We are no longer the story told by others. We are the ones holding the pen. We are filmmakers, philosophers, farmers, and futurists. We are Afrofuturism and folklore. We are software and spirituality, algorithms and ancestors. And make no mistake, this isn't a comeback. Because we never left. We were just relearning the language of our own worth. Africa is not rising. Africa is remembering. We are not the seed buried. We are the seed rooted, now cracking the ground open with song and thunder. We are the sky our ancestors prayed toward. Wide, wild, uncolonized. They tried to break our tree, but forgot we were the soil. They tried to erase us from the future, but forgot we invented time. Africa was not found. Africa remembered itself. And now, the world must remember too. We are not here to dominate. We are here to restore. Not to conquer, but to call. Not to avenge, but to awaken. The first breath came from this soil. And until the last breath is drawn, Africa will remain the heartbeat of the world. Let this be known. Africa was never missing. It was never behind. It was never broken. It was waiting for the silence to crack, for memory to return home, for a generation like ours to rise and say, no more stories told without us. Because we are not just the cradle. We are the echo. We are the voice. We are the pen. And we write now in the ink of fire, with chapters made of courage, verses soaked in pride, and footnotes written in the dust of every stolen name we're taking back.